Dan gaan wij hier nu verder kijken en luisteren naar Kerry Lee, Director of Consulting Europe van Pattern International Global E-Commerce. Kerry, take it away.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be here. I'm actually sitting in sunny Surrey at the moment, as opposed to being somewhere fun and exciting, like the Netherlands. But anyway, I'm hoping that I can live up to and follow a really interesting TikTok presentation, because I have no videos. Anyway, what I want to talk to you today about is how to win on marketplaces. So the agenda is a really, really short intro to Pattern. I'm pretty certain most of you probably haven't heard of us before. Then we're going to go straight into why you need a marketplace strategy, and then how to win on marketplaces. And then I think there's some time at the end for questions as well. So who are Pattern? We are basically a global e-commerce growth partner, and we are focused on accelerating sales across all the digital channels. We have three parts of our offer, which is global e-commerce consulting, answering the big strategic questions, outsourced e-commerce, where we can implement some of the strategies that we've devised, and then the final one, and the newest addition to our service lines, is marketplace growth and control. And the services that we offer in marketplace around marketplaces are consulting. And again, some of that is, should you go on marketplaces? If so, how, when, where, all of those sort of bigger questions that a board and the team of directors would need to answer. Managed services, so we can actually help you run your marketplace activity. And then we also have a slightly different offer, which is where we work with brands, buy their stock and trade it on behalf of those brands on various different marketplaces across the world. As I mentioned, we're global. We've got offices everywhere. Brilliant for us, because that means that we can actually benefit from shared learning across all the different areas and the regions, from Asia to the Middle East to the US. As I said, we do a lot within marketplaces. Currently, Pattern is a top 5 global Amazon seller. We're number 1 in the health and personal care category, and our brands see some significant growth when they actually come on board with us. So I think I'm pretty confident to say that we know what we're doing when it comes to marketplaces. And these are just a few of our clients. So why does every brand need a marketplace strategy? And love them or hate them, I think you can't ignore them. And I think this is probably the telling slide on that. This is the percentage of shoppers who buy from marketplaces across the world. And we just picked out a couple of different countries. And if you have a look at the European countries here, Germany, UK and France, that is a significant number of shoppers that are shopping on marketplaces and are using these sites regularly. And what we also know is that this stat is not going down. Actually, you are only going to see this increase in the coming years, as marketplaces have done particularly well across the current crisis. So marketplaces can't be ignored. You have to include them. But what you do need to do is also consider how they fit into your existing retail strategy. And when you take a step back and start to look at exactly how consumers shop, there are different roles for the different routes to market. So as an e-retailer, people might come to you because you have curated ranges. They don't have to go through pages and pages and pages of product. They are attracted to those ranges that are particularly personally selected by you. And also they welcome the customer service and experience that potentially things like department stores and other e-retailers can give. Loyalty and rewards programs also help with e-retailers being able to retain and acquire customers. Then brands have their own sites as well, so their own direct-to-consumer sites. And a lot of the reasons why consumers go to those is actually, particularly for products that may suffer from fakes and issues with reliability, having a direct relationship with a brand enables consumers to feel more confident, and they're confident about the authenticity and the quality of the product. At the same time, we're seeing brands start to differentiate their website offer with unique products and services, so exclusive product that's only available on their direct-to-consumer brand site. Specific services like extended warranties or guarantees, or additional sort of added value services that the brand is offering to attract the customer to them. And then another one that we're seeing more and more frequently, and we've got spirits clients that are definitely doing this, is product customization. And I think actually, if you look in the FMCG space, things like Cadbury have done a brilliant job of personalized chocolate. Marmite have done an amazing job of personalized bottles as well. And so we're seeing more and more consumers use brand sites because of those reasons. So then what does that mean is the role for marketplaces? And I think you can probably sum it up for probably 3 key points. Price, if you just think about how you shop. Amazon and bol.com and places like that are actually where you go when you're looking for a deal, and you just need to check the price because you always know that you'll probably find the lowest price there. Convenience. So the fulfillment options on a number of marketplaces quite often are the ones that are setting the bar when it comes to customer experience. So Amazon, particularly with its next day delivery, is offering something that a lot of the other sites can't do. So actually, if you're like me and completely forget people's birthdays and have to suddenly conjure up a present within 24 hours, actually marketplaces are a brilliant option for me. And then finally, product selection and range. So again, places like Amazon and Bol pride themselves on having the fullest and most extensive range that's available. So regardless of your needs and regardless of your wants, potentially they can cater for it. So all of these different shopping behaviours that consumers display when they're starting to select these channels need to be played into your overall marketplace strategy. And so actually, when you start to think about that, the marketplaces play, and I think there are a number of different things, and we've seen this with our clients play out, that marketplaces can play. So customer acquisition and driving revenue, obviously no-brainers. I would say the vast majority of our clients use marketplaces to acquire new customers and drive revenue. Revenue obviously comes hand in hand with the volume of people that are actually shopping on the site. And customer acquisition is something that a lot of brands are trying to achieve and finding expensive when it comes to some of their own direct-to-consumer sites. So we're seeing more and more brands focus on marketplaces for those 2 reasons. But they're not exclusive. Other reasons that we're seeing brands actually flock to marketplaces for is they're seeing it as a shortcut to internationalization, particularly if you're looking at people like Amazon or Lazada. It's very easy when you work on those marketplaces to enter into programs that will enable you to ship your product all the way around Europe or all the way around Asia. By doing that, it means that actually you can enter into a market in a relatively low cost way and test the appetite of consumers for your products there without actually having to invest too much. And so a number of our UK brands that are looking to get into Europe are definitely using marketplaces exactly for that reason. Other brands are actually using marketplaces as a defensive strategy. So we have some premium luxury brands that at the moment are starting to get a little bit annoyed about the fact that they've got all sorts of different rogue resellers turning up on marketplaces that are potentially undermining their IP, because they are doing weird things with bottles and they are infringing some of the logos, and the brand equity is being damaged. And what they've recognised is that by actually getting in bed with the marketplaces that they really don't necessarily want to work with, it gives them the ability to clean up what's going on that marketplace much more effectively. And then the other strategy that we've seen people take around marketplaces is about driving brand awareness and equity. This is probably less likely. There's less opportunity on some of these marketplaces because the templates of the product pages are more standardized. But again, just because of the sheer number of people, actually you can drive quite a huge awareness of a brand just by having a presence and investing some marketing spend on it. So what I'm going to do now is quickly take you through some top tips on actually how to win on the biggest marketplace in Europe, which is Amazon. A lot of these are also very applicable to other marketplaces. And so actually being able to win on Amazon potentially sets you up in a really good position to be able to win on some of the other marketplaces too. So firstly, get your model right. There are different ways you can work with a number of the marketplaces out there at the moment. Some of them will buy your stock and then it's their problem, they deal with it. Others, you actually have to become a seller on their platform. Others, you can actually have a bit more of a hybrid model. Make sure you get the right one for your category and your brand and product. Not every category and not every product is suited to vendor, as an example, and not every category and product is suited to seller. So work out exactly what you're trying to achieve and ensure that you have the right model. By switching models and making sure that you've got your model optimized, you can actually make some significant gains. And I think an example of this is a brand that we worked with, which is Spectra. And actually we shifted them from a vendor position into a 3P position on Amazon. And we actually managed to increase sales by 73% just by having a slightly different way of working and cleaning up some of the issues that were there with the vendor program. Ensure you have the right team. Easier said than done. And I'm not going to talk you through this, but this is a little equation as to how we help our clients work out the number of people they need to actually work on a marketplace or on Amazon. What I would say, marketplaces are incredibly labor intensive. Do not underestimate how much time it takes to, one, set up, but two, actually maintain your business on a marketplace. There's constant checks and there's constant monitoring and there's constant iteration and constant learning that takes place. So ensure that you've got a team that have the capability and the bandwidth to be able to ensure that you're really optimizing your activity. If I was going to suggest there is one point away from this presentation, it's this one: get the basics right. You can spend loads of money on advertising, but actually, do you know what you need? You really need to get the basics right, because actually by putting those in place, it gives you a really solid base to work from. And when I talk about basics, it's things like stock management. It's making sure that your imagery is optimized, your copy is there, you've got reviews, and that actually your delivery like stacks up and you can deliver what you've promised. So as an example, this is a quick chart which shows you the impact of going out of stock on Amazon. And for any other marketplaces that uses algorithms to actually generate your organic rankings, this is probably something similar as well. So it might be applicable to them too. But where you can see the red arrow, that is where an item went out of stock. And unlike e-retailer, where actually if you go out of stock, as soon as you come back in stock, they just put you back, or you put your product page back up, and actually your velocity picks up immediately. Amazon and other marketplaces aren't necessarily like that. If you go out of stock, you lose your organic ranking, and it takes you a significant time and investment to get it back. And this is actually modelled off a specific example that has been seen. And this is sort of showing you that actually you go out of stock in week 10, and still by week 30, you haven't necessarily regained the velocity of sales that you had previously. So getting your stock management sorted is absolutely critical to success, because if not, it's going to cost you a lot of money to boost all your activity through advertising. Get your content right and get your copy right. There are all sorts of ways that you can optimize your content and copy on Amazon. Amazon will actually take into consideration your content and copy when it's thinking about who's going to be promoted up through the organic listings. So it is critical that you need to get this right. Use as many images as you can, put in lifestyle, look at video, ensure that your titles have got keywords in, so they will actually match what people are searching for. Ensure they're really clear and descriptive, and make sure that actually your bullet points are punchy and really focused on the benefits of the product. One other note on here, imagery is even more important on mobile because that's the first thing that you see. Reviews. Reviews also count into the Amazon overall algorithm. It is critical to make sure that you improve your reviews and you maintain your reviews. And this is another area where you have to keep going back and checking on them. There's loads of information there about what actually you potentially need to ensure that you've got enough reviews and that reviews are good enough. But focus on that, get that right before you start spending money on advertising. And then delivery. If you can't necessarily guarantee a speedy delivery, opt for FBA. You need to try and win a Prime badge. You can get that through FBA or Seller Fulfilled Prime. But if you've got that, that will again improve your organic listings and enable you to actually win the buy box more often and effectively generate more sales. So that's the basics. And then what you can do, once you've got all of that in place, is start to think about accelerating the activity that you've got and really starting to drive the activity on the marketplaces. And again, a lot of this is incredibly transferable. So this is also equally applicable to Cdiscount or to Bowl or to any sort of medium type marketplace. So on and off platform marketing. Marketing investment cannot be underestimated, particularly on Amazon at the moment. This just shows you what we thought was a particularly uncompetitive type of category, so paper towels. And the picture in yellow is the only listing that isn't paid for. And this is in a not exactly competitive area. So it's starting to become a bit more of a pay to play. So you need to ensure that you have some marketing budget to start to defend your position as a brand and to start to gain share and steal that from other people. Ensure you have a significant enough budget for marketing. The story of this slide is very much that actually Europe is moving in the direction of the US now. So in the US, it's very competitive to buy marketing on Amazon currently. And if you have a look, actually the impressions per keyword is significantly higher. and people are buying that and spending much more on investing in their Amazon profile. We're seeing exactly the same trend happening here, and we're moving now more towards the American model and seeing the competitiveness of the marketing activity increase. So ensure that you've got marketing budget and make sure that you continue to try and up that, because it's going to become more expensive to actually advertise on Amazon. And then finally, think about your ranging in your product. There's been some really high profile examples of people that have won and done some unbelievable business just by coming up with new and exclusive product that they're putting on Amazon. So anyone that's seen Amazon talk has probably heard them talk about their Johnny Walker Game of Thrones exclusives. And so Diageo worked with Amazon a while back, developed these types of whiskey that I don't know much about Game of Thrones, but it's all tied into the program and some of the characters, etc. And it absolutely flew on Amazon. It generated a huge amount of awareness. It had a halo effect on some of the other brands and the other Johnny Walker products, and has been received incredibly well. The other thing is to start to look at actually how you yourself can start to bundle existing products, but in new and creative ways. And I think this enables you to also start to overcome some of the challenges and issues around low price points, which mean actually it's difficult to turn a profit. So think about how you can do that, and that will enable you to continue to drive sales and ensure that you're maintaining a relevancy for the audience. So if I was to sum it up, and this was a complete whistle stop, if I was to sum it up, I would say make sure you really understand the role of marketplaces for your brand. It's very easy to go onto marketplaces and then suddenly realise that what you've done is cannibalised your direct consumer sales, which are high margin, with your lower margin marketplace sales. So do the thinking up front and work out what that role is. Secure the right resource. Make sure you have people that have the capability and the bandwidth to be able to support marketplace operation. Doesn't mean you have to have a huge team. It just means that you need to ensure that the people within your business that have the responsibility for looking after marketplaces do have some time put aside to do it. And don't just think this is a marketing and advertising game. Actually, the logistics and the stock management is just as heavy lifting, and in fact, possibly more so. And then get the basics right. We've seen so many people throw huge amounts of money at marketing and advertising on marketplaces, when actually what they need to do is improve their basic content, look at their price points and understand how competitive they are, and ensure that their delivery offer is up to scratch. And then you can start to invest in going above and beyond. So that was literally a whistle stop on marketplaces and how we operate. And I think we're going to go into some questions in a minute.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to this Q&A session with Kerry Lee. Hi, Kerry. Can you hear us?
Yeah, no, I can. Hello.
Hi. Perfect. So thank you for your presentation, and thank you for being with us here for answering some of the questions that the audience might have, or I also have some questions for you. So we both work as a consultant at a consulting firm, but I think you are the only consulting firm with your own warehouse, as far as I know. So I have some questions for you. Could you give a concrete example for different retail sectors, such as food sector, or at how these retailers can implement a successful marketplace strategy?
Yeah, completely. I think, as an example, marketplaces can be challenging for certain categories. And so one of our clients is Coca-Cola, and we've worked with them relatively recently. And I think for them, marketplaces is a hard place to work. So as an example, with Amazon, they have had to focus on bulk packs and areas whereby actually it's affordable for them, and from a delivery perspective, they can actually make some profit on the product itself. And I think it's the considerations around the weight, the size, and the price of a product will potentially impact the way that you consider your marketplaces. The other thing that you need to consider as well is actually how widely distributed are you, and what's the impact of the marketplace is going to be on your other channels. So I would be starting from actually, is there a consumer need that isn't currently being met, what are the role of your existing channels, and what is then the role that marketplaces can take within that. Then start to think about the considerations specifically around the product, the price, the weight, the height, all of those sorts of things. And it is massively variable by category.
Okay, thank you. Another question, how do you integrate a market strategy into your omni-channel strategy? So how do you connect a marketplace strategy with your physical stores?
Yeah, and I think you can do that. And again, it's looking at the whole of your full strategy holistically, and understanding again where the gaps are. Obviously, some marketplaces are now actually starting to move into the physical space. I think other marketplaces are purely going to be pure play, and so when you're considering the role of those marketplaces, you can actually look at them alongside your omnichannel. I think actually with marketplaces now evolving their distribution options, quite often there is the opportunity for an omnichannel aspect of it as well. So click and collect or pick up from different delivery points. And I think that they are starting to evolve themselves. But ultimately, if you're looking strategically at it, you have to take a step back, look at the entire retail portfolio and landscape, including the omnichannel players. And again, just understand where the particular marketplaces you're looking at will fit within your overall strategy.
Exactly, yeah. Is it also one of the most common mistakes or pitfalls that companies make?
Around marketplaces?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh God, there's so many. I think underestimating the amount of work that quite a lot of the marketplaces take.
Yeah.
So not necessarily having the capability or the bandwidth within teams to be able to do a good job. I think also a number of people think that just by going on to a marketplace, you will start selling immediately, and actually they don't understand the need to do full optimization before you actually start investing on that marketplace. Like if you think about marketplaces, just by their very nature, they're huge, and that, like Amazon as an example, has millions and millions and millions of SKUs. So it's not easy for people to find you. So you have to do the work to be able to get people to find you. So it won't just sell. I think also people start to think that they'll get a very high velocity of sales immediately as well, and potentially that isn't necessarily the case. And then I think from a category perspective, logistics quite often is very challenging, particularly for the FMCG or the bigger CPG players that are used to managing pallets and not necessarily managing smaller units, and looking at a huge number of different drops of products over a short period of time, as opposed to pallet loads once a month.
And it's the logistic area. Is it also the area that you help companies most? Is that the most important theme?
Do you know what? We help on a whole combination of areas, actually. So we can help from just the overall strategic piece at first to actually look at where potentially the opportunities are for you, the possible size of the category, what's the actual commercial opportunity that's available. So we do that a lot. So that's probably our primary focus. But then we can also help on the sort of the logistics side of things. And obviously, with all the companies that we actually buy stock from, we will manage the whole end-to-end process for them. So we will help them across the piece, and we just take away all the pain. We buy the stock from them, we work with them to optimize it and sell it, and ultimately they don't have to necessarily deal with marketplaces at all.
Yeah. And how do you deal with stock? So, I mean, if products are out of stock, is that your responsibility, or is that the responsibility of the retailer you're working with?
So if we're working with a brand, it could be their responsibility. If they can't get us the stock, it's their responsibility. If we haven't planned it properly, it's our responsibility. I think ultimately the goal is that as partners, we would try and optimize stock and manage stock as effectively as we can, because I think, as the slide in the presentation showed, it's really critical that you manage your stock levels, because it can have a significant impact on your organic listings.
Yeah.
And a long-term effect, that will have a long-term effect on sales.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So for those of you who are listening live, it is also possible to ask a question by putting a text message and a conversations, or you can raise your virtual hand in order to put any questions that you might have. So what would be your main recommendation for brands to encourage them to sell their products via platforms?
I think make sure that you have done your due diligence before you go onto them, because we know people, or we know brands that have literally just thrown a load of products onto a marketplace, and as I said, it's had a relatively negative effect because it's actually been it's impacted their profitability, because it's cannibalized high margin sales and actually replaced them with low margin sales.
Yeah.
So start off and do the due diligence up front, so that you can understand actually which marketplace is right for you, because not all will be, and actually what's the right range and the opportunity that's there for you, so that you can ensure that just from the outset, anything that you do is margin accretive and is going to enable you to make more money and hit your objectives. I think have a very clear view of what your objectives are. So why are you going onto marketplaces?
Yeah.
What are you trying to achieve? Is it just sales, or is it, as some of our clients have, it's a defensive play? So do that due diligence up front, understanding your objectives, looking at the market size and the opportunity, before you even take a step into it. And then when you do, again, don't underestimate how much time it can take. It's not necessarily as easy as it looks. And ensure that you've got the capability and the bandwidth in your teams to be able to deliver it.
So it is very time consuming. So what phase is most time consuming if you talk about starting to work with a platform?
So it depends on the platform. For some, it's actually just the maintenance. So Amazon, as an example, stock management is very time consuming, but also just the maintenance of listings. The way that Amazon works particularly means that people can hijack your listing. And so what you've put up there might not necessarily be up there the following day.
Yeah.
And so you have to constantly monitor your product pages to ensure that they are still fully optimized. And also, consumer behavior has been changing so much recently that things like search terms and actually categories that people are searching for has really changed. So you need to go back in and reassess what you've got and what you've done from a content perspective to ensure that you're tapping into the most recent trends and the most recent search terms, and ensuring that you're getting the organic boost that you need in your listing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for, first of all, your presentation, and secondly, for answering the questions. If there are no further questions, then I'm sure that if people have any questions later on, they're still able to reach out to you. So for now, thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.